Yeah, guy, black shirt running. Hey, drop it. Drop it. Drop that shit. Drop it. Drop the fucking gun. Drop the fucking gun. Drop the fucking gun. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Hey, turn up that fucking shot fired. Shot fired. Drop the fucking gun. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Don't fucking touch it. Don't fucking touch it. Don't fucking touch it. Turn around. Turn the fuck around. Turn the fuck around.
Atlanta, Georgia, a city famous for its vibrant music scene, brightly lit buildings, and liberal atmosphere. But hidden beneath that glamour, there are always dark corners that not everyone dares to look directly into. In 2017, a shocking case occurred here. A bloody, cold, and mysterious death that shook the entire community. The victim was a young, strong woman who always had a bright smile on her lips. She had a kind heart, a dream of a peaceful life, and a belief that everyone deserves to be loved. However, fate gave her a cruel ending. One fateful summer night, gunshots rang out, ending it all. It was not just an ordinary murder. Her death has sparked a series of painful questions. Why are cases targeting transgender people, especially women of color, often forgotten? Why does justice always come late, or never come at all? And why, in the 21st century, are people still being killed for daring to be themselves? In this documentary series, we will follow the story of 6 parts. From that fateful night in College Park, to the dead-end investigations, the loving memories of friends and family, to the community's tireless efforts to seek justice. Each part is a piece of the puzzle, and when put together, we will see the whole picture, at once painful and violent, but also filled with a glimmer of hope. The question remains: who killed TeeTee Dangerfield? The answer may be buried in the darkness forever. But one thing is certain: her story will never be forgotten. TeeTee Dangerfield was born in 1985 in Atlanta, Georgia. To her friends and colleagues, she was a bright light. Although only slightly above average in height, TeeTee had a radiant smile that lit up the room. At the bars where she worked as a bartender, regulars remembered TeeTee not only for her skillful mixing of drinks but also for the warmth in each story she shared. People came to drink, but left feeling heard. But to be true to herself, TeeTee paid a price. As a transgender woman of color, she faced prejudice, suspicious looks, and even hatred from society. Friends said that sometimes, at night, TeeTee received strange calls, vague voices, strange messages full of hidden meanings. She once confided that she felt insecure, but still believed in the kindness of people. TeeTee thought that if she kept smiling and being nice, no one would want to hurt her. On the night of the 30th of July, 2017, TeeTee and a few friends went to the 50-yard line bar, a popular bar in College Park. She wore a simple black dress, light makeup, and a familiar smile. Security cameras recorded her leaving the bar at around 3 a.m. In that short video, TeeTee looked completely normal, not worried or afraid. She drove home, and no one knew that those would be the last moments anyone would see her safe. About an hour later, in the parking lot of Southampton Estates, several residents heard strange sounds. A few dry noises echoed in the night, but no one thought it was gunshots. When they stepped outside, they saw a scene that silenced the entire neighborhood. TeeTee Dangerfield, lying next to his car, shot multiple times. College Park police quickly cordoned off the scene. What puzzled them was the detail. All of TeeTee's belongings were intact. her phone, purse, keys, even her wallet. Nothing had been taken. This wasn't a robbery. It had the look of an execution. In the days that followed, grief turned to outrage. Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community held vigils and called for justice. TeeTee was not just a woman, she was a symbol of the courage to live her truth. Her death was thus not just a personal tragedy, but also a reflection of a wave of violence against transgender people of color in the United States. In 2017, TeeTee became the 16th victim in a string of similar murders, a number that would make anyone shudder. But for the police, this case was not simply a hate crime. Investigators found that in TeeTee's life, in addition to the light, there were also dark corners. Some close friends said she had complained about unsafe relationships, men appearing and disappearing inexplicably, the midnight calls, the strange messages, all made people suspect that TeeTee had accidentally gotten into some kind of danger. So, in the end, was TeeTee Dangerfield killed because of who she was, or because of who she knew? That is the question that has haunted her for many years, as the killer is still out there. If you find these details worth pondering, subscribe to the channel, because behind TeeTee Dangerfield's death, there are many truths that have never been revealed, truths that can make you speechless. In the red and blue flashes of patrol cars, the Southampton Estates parking lot was a cold maze. Police cordoned off TeeTee Dangerfield's car, while paramedics silently covered her body. Georgia summer nights are usually hot, but that night the air was chilly. Every detail was frozen in the memories of those present. The ambulance sirens, the flashing lights over the pool of blood, the deathly silence that hung over the neighborhood. Investigators noted something peculiar. TeeTee's belongings were still intact. There were no signs of a robbery, no rummaged bags, and even her car was locked. The scene raised a terrifying theory: the killer was not after property, but after life. This was no accident, nor was it a spontaneous quarrel. This was a targeted murder. Nearby residents reported hearing some strange noises around 4:30 a.m. Some thought it was fireworks, others thought someone was arguing. No one dared to go outside until the police lights flashed. Those scattered statements yielded no concrete clues. The killer seemed to have disappeared into the darkness, leaving no trace. The police began searching the surrounding area, checking security cameras. A video showed TeeTee leaving the bar at 3 a.m. She drove toward her apartment, her face relaxed, showing no signs of anything unusual. The gap between that moment and when her body was found was the most mysterious. Where did TeeTee stop? Who did she meet? Or was someone following her from the bar? In the days that followed, news of TeeTee's death spread throughout Atlanta. The LGBTQ+ community was shocked. They knew the price of being true to themselves, but no one expected such a cruel ending. TeeTee became the 16th victim of a series of transgender murders in the U.S. that year. The number made many people shudder, as a warning that these lives are still being hunted out there. Friends and relatives described TeeTee as a person who always radiated positive energy. She was not only a good bartender, but also a good listener and a comforter. One friend said through tears, "She was the one who made me believe that everything would be okay. But now she's gone in the most painful way." The media began to question, was this a hate crime? Or was there something else behind it? Because although TeeTee lived a strong life, vague messages, shadows appearing and disappearing quickly in her life. TeeTee admitted to being worried, but she believed that kindness could diffuse any resentment. That belief sometimes made her the most vulnerable target. Detectives began to narrow down TeeTee's relationships. They went to bars, talked to staff, asked friends. Some witnesses recalled seeing her chatting with a few strange faces, but no one remembered their characteristics. The fragments of memories were like ghosts, not enough to form a complete picture. In parallel with the investigation, the community refused to stay silent. Many vigils and memorials were held. Hundreds of candles were lit in TeeTee's memory. Voices echoed, "We will not let her death be forgotten." Human rights organizations emphasized that TeeTee was not just an individual victim, but a symbol of an entire community under threat. But the deeper the investigation went, the more disturbing the truth became. There was no physical evidence at the scene. No strange fingerprints, no DNA, no murder weapon. The scene seemed staged to erase all traces. This made the case even more difficult. However, some of TeeTee's friends mentioned a notable detail: the strange calls she received. Who was behind those calls? Was it someone she knew? Or was it a stranger who had haunted TeeTee for months? That question became an important line of investigation. But tracing the strange phone number through the mass of data was not easy. In the meantime, the press continued to delve into the social perspective. They wrote about the fragility of transgender women of color, about how they were often the targets of violence. TeeTee Dangerfield became an icon, but also a painful reminder that being true to yourself can sometimes cost you your life. The police aren't ruling out personal motives. Perhaps someone in TeeTee's complicated relationships crossed a line. A jealous lover, someone she rejected, or even a dangerous relationship that her friends didn't know about. But to prove any theory, they needed more than an emotional story. They needed evidence, and that's exactly what they didn't have. As the case stalled, the community began to worry. If the killer wasn't caught, who else would be targeted next? Who was lurking in the shadows, ready to target another life out of prejudice or hatred? That question made the case not just a personal pain for TeeTee's family, but also a haunting one for the entire community. And as the police began to name the first suspects, a wave of controversy arose, because all the evidence was weak and not convincing enough. But before we get there, we need to stop at an important detail: the short time between when TeeTee left the bar and when she collapsed in the parking lot. In that less than 90 minutes, what really happened? Who did she meet? Where did she stop? Or was someone patiently watching, waiting for the right moment to strike? If you want to know, keep going, because what happened in that short time could be the key to unlocking the entire mystery behind TeeTee Dangerfield's death. Every murder case has a lull. It's the time after the candles burn out, after the media moves on to a new headline, and after the community begins to return to the grind of daily life. But for the police and TeeTee Dangerfield's loved ones, that lull is the most nerve-wracking. Because the killer is still out there, no one knows who he is, and no one is sure if he'll stop. In the days after TeeTee's death, investigators focused on a seemingly small detail: the strange calls and texts she had received. Police obtained a warrant to retrieve her phone's call history. They found several unsaved numbers, often late at night. Some of the messages were sexually explicit, others were vaguely threatening. Notably, TeeTee had deleted some of the messages, perhaps because she didn't want to worry her friends or family. But those gaps raised suspicions. Was she hiding some dangerous relationship? During the search, the police discovered a prominent name, a young man who had called TeeTee several times just days before the murder. He lived not far from the scene, had a history of assault and gun-related crimes. Investigators began to wonder, was this a secret relationship, or was it an obsessive person who was stalking TeeTee to the end? In August, the police began to question him. The man appeared calm, denying any involvement in TeeTee's death. He said he knew her through friends, but insisted that he had been with his family the night of the murder and had an alibi. Detectives checked his statements, and indeed his family confirmed it. But in murder cases, an alibi is sometimes just a thin shell. But the harsh truth was, aside from the fact that he had called TeeTee, the police found no physical evidence tying him to the scene. No DNA, no weapon, no witnesses who saw him near the parking lot. The feeling of helplessness set in again. They had a suspect, but no strong enough legal basis to charge him. As the investigation dragged on, public opinion began to rise. Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community was outraged by the slow pace of the police. They argued that if the victim had been a white, cisgender woman, the case might have been solved more quickly. Many articles highlighted the slowness in protecting trans women of color, seeing TeeTee's death as part of a pattern of systemic violence. A group of activists staged a protest in front of police headquarters. They held up signs that read, "Justice for TeeTee. Justice for TeeTee." A simple slogan that contained both anger and despair. Amid mounting public pressure, the police had to provide answers. A detective stood before the television camera, his voice low but cautious. "We are pursuing many lines of investigation. This is not an easy case. But we are committed to bringing the perpetrator to justice." The promise echoed. But in the hearts of many, it remained an empty promise. At the same time, TeeTee's family was dealing with a double whammy: the pain of losing a loved one, and the pain of seeing the case seemingly stall. "Every day I wake up thinking about my sister," her sister said in an interview. "I want to know who did this. I want to look that person in the eye and ask, why?" Despite finding no physical evidence, the police continued to expand their investigation. They checked traffic cameras along the route from the bar to the apartment complex. A grainy video showed another car driving in the same direction as TeeTee's at the same time. The license plate was not clearly visible, but it was an important detail. Was TeeTee being followed? The investigation team decided to narrow down the list of cars of the same type registered in the area. They ran down a few names, including the man who had been questioned, but again, nothing was convincing enough to connect him to the crime scene. As police navigated the maze of flimsy evidence, the community continued to remember TeeTee. A graffiti wall in Atlanta read, "Her light still shines. Her light still shines." The image became a place for people to leave flowers, to talk to TeeTee as if she were still around. "There are some murders that leave us feeling trapped," the lead investigator on the case admitted. "This is one of them. All the leads are fuzzy, and the killer seems to disappear like a ghost." Meanwhile, another theory began to be mentioned. Was TeeTee not only the victim of a transphobic hate group, but also involved in a much more dangerous relationship, perhaps involving gangs or illegal activity? Some tabloids even made headlines that TeeTee lived a double life, working as a bartender and possibly getting involved with dangerous people. Family and friends immediately denied her innocence, but the rumors spread quickly, tarnishing TeeTee's image in the eyes of some people. This further angered the LGBTQ+ community, who believed that society was always ready to blame the victim instead of focusing on finding the perpetrator. Public opinion was divided. One side called for justice for TeeTee, the other suspected her of being involved in shady relationships. Meanwhile, the police were still unable to officially announce a suspect. The case was gradually labeled unsolved, but behind the scenes, some detectives refused to give up. They believed that important clues were still somewhere, maybe on TeeTee's phone, in grainy body camera footage, or in the testimony of a witness who had not dared to speak up. The problem was, as time passed, memories faded, and the chances of finding justice for TeeTee became slimmer. By fall, the case had dragged on for more than 2 months without any significant progress. Atlantans were talking less about it, and the media rarely reported on it. But for those who loved TeeTee, the pain was still raw. They knew that if the case was forgotten, the killer would forever be at large. And the question still echoed through the night. Who killed TeeTee Dangerfield? It's a bitter truth in the world of crime. Not all cases get solved. Backlogs pile up in archives. Victim photos are placed in binders. And the words, unsolved, become a dreaded ellipsis. TeeTee Dangerfield's case, sadly, is sliding toward that. After months of investigation, the police have yet to find a breakthrough. No weapon, no witnesses, no DNA. The suspect car is too blurry to track down in the body camera footage. There are potential suspects, but not enough evidence to charge them. And so, from what was initially a hot murder case, TeeTee becomes one of many victims in an endless list of unsolved deaths. Her family lives with the pain of not only loss, but also of abandonment. Every day, they wait for a call from the police, hoping to hear, "We found the killer." But the phone rang for the usual reasons. As the months passed, hope faded, leaving a void that could not be filled. TeeTee's mother, at a small memorial service, wept. "She was my flesh and blood. I can't sleep well, knowing that the person who killed her is still out there." Her voice trembled, as if each word drained the life out of her. For TeeTee's friends, the loss was no less devastating. They still gathered at the bar where TeeTee used to work, reminiscing about her smile and humor. But in each story, there was a common haunting. She should still be here. Some friends confessed that, since the case, they have become wary of going out at night. They feel they could be the next TeeTee. In Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community, TeeTee Dangerfield's death became a grim reminder of the fragility of life for trans women of color. That year, the United States recorded many similar murders, most of which remained unsolved. People began to see TeeTee not just as a victim, but as a symbol. Marches continued. People wore TeeTee's image on T-shirts and posters. Her name was chanted along with other victims, as a way to affirm that they would not be forgotten. A social activist group even established a scholarship fund in her name to support young trans people pursuing their education. While the community turned the loss into a fighting force, broader public opinion gradually cooled. The press turned to reporting on new cases. That silence hurt her family even more. They fear that one day, when people mention TeeTee, they will only vaguely remember, "Oh, that was a girl who was killed in 2017. One detective on the investigation team once told the press privately, "There are cases that keep us up at night for years. TeeTee is one of them. There is nothing more painful than having to tell the victim's family that we have nothing new." That confession expose the truth. Despite their good intentions, the police were helpless against a fragile wall of evidence. The coldness of the case had another consequence. Theories and rumors began to spread. On social media, many people fabricated that TeeTee might have been involved in drugs or involved in illicit relationships. These malicious rumors had no evidence, but spread quickly, damaging her reputation. The family reacted violently, asserting that TeeTee was completely innocent, that her life revolved around work, family, and friends. But the internet is unforgiving once rumors spread. It is difficult to stop. Yet the LGBTQ+ community has not let her story be forgotten. They have created annual memorials, where every year on the anniversary of her murder, people gather, light candles, and read her name loudly in the dark. When we read TeeTee's name, we are not only remembering, but we are also sending a message that her life mattered, and that justice for her is still being demanded, said one activist. At the national level, TeeTee is mentioned in annual reports on violence against transgender people. Her name is on a long list of victims who have not found justice. The list is an indictment of society, a reminder that justice has not come to everyone. TeeTee's family, despite their grief, still tries to keep her memory alive. Her sister says that every time she sees a rainbow after the rain, she thinks of TeeTee. She always said rainbows were a sign that things would get better. But since she died, rainbows have been both beautiful and heartbreaking to me. As time passed, the TeeTee Dangerfield case began to fade into oblivion at the official level. There were no more press releases, no more press conferences. Her file sat in a cold cabinet, waiting for some miracle, maybe a confession, or a witness who decided to come forward. But in the hearts of those who loved her, TeeTee never disappeared. They kept her alive through stories, photos, tributes. TeeTee Dangerfield became more than a name in the news. She was a symbol of a community still struggling to be seen, protected, and treated fairly. And yet the big question lingered. Will justice ever come? Will her killer ever face the truth? Or will TeeTee's death forever be one of countless unsolved cases, nameless ghosts in the criminal record? Time has passed, but for TeeTee Dangerfield's family and friends, the pain has never lessened. Holidays, birthday parties, and family gatherings have become bittersweet moments. Every time they look around the dinner table, they notice the empty chair that TeeTee should have sat in. No one says it out loud, but they all know that absence is a wound that will never heal. TeeTee's mother kept most of her daughter's belongings in her old room. The closet still has TeeTee's favorite colorful dresses hanging. On the dressing table is the red lipstick she used before the fateful party. Some nights, she quietly walks into that room, opens the closet, and inhales deeply, as if the lingering scent is a fragile thread connecting her to her lost child. Meanwhile, the LGBTQ+ community continues to turn TeeTee's death into a powerful call to action. Many Atlanta-based activist groups have named her a symbol of the anti-trans violence movement. They hold workshops, share how to protect themselves, and demand greater accountability from the legal system. As one prominent activist once said, "When we talk about TeeTee, we are not just remembering a victim. We are talking about a woman who had dreams, a family, and friends. And more importantly, we are reminding society that this violence cannot continue." On social media platforms, every year on the anniversary of TeeTee's death, hundreds of posts appear with the hashtag bearing her name. Photos of TeeTee smiling brightly are shared everywhere, accompanied by the heartbreaking but powerful words, "Justice for TeeTee Dangerfield." However, no one denies a harsh reality. The perpetrator is still out there. Not a single name, not a single face has been brought to justice. The silence became a haunting shadow for the family. They wondered, had the killer passed them on the street? Had he smiled, pretending to be a normal person, while harboring the darkest secret? A close friend of TeeTee's once confessed that she often looked at the crowd and wondered, could one of them be the one who fired the shots that night? That fear was hard to quell, because when justice is not served, every stranger can become an imaginary suspect. The police, although still keeping the case open, made no significant progress. They could only hope for a chance clue in the future, a confession, a DNA sample discovered, or a witness suddenly deciding to speak up. But year after year, it never happened. Meanwhile, the family's patience was tested. They wrote to the police, asked for updates, attended community meetings, and even contacted legal organizations to apply pressure. But they knew that with a case as lacking evidence as this, the chances of finding the killer were slim. Their pain grew as they watched other cases being solved. They saw on the news that other victims had found justice, while TeeTee had not. Each time, TeeTee's mother would whisper, "When will it be my daughter's turn?" In the years since TeeTee's death, Atlanta has changed. New buildings have been built, new roads have been widened, new people have come and gone. But in the LGBTQ+ community, her memory remains fresh. They tell TeeTee's story to younger generations as a warning and a beacon. Some of her friends have even turned their grief into personal motivation. Some have joined human rights organizations. Others have become anti-violence activists. They say TeeTee sacrificed her life to wake up society, and they will not allow that sacrifice to be forgotten. Yet, despite all the efforts, one fact remains: TeeTee Dangerfield is no more. The dream of a happy life, of love, of a future, all were taken away in a matter of seconds on a fateful night, and the one who took it away never paid the price. That is the most haunting void in this case. It is not only a void in the family's heart, but also a void in justice, in the community's faith in the system that protects them, a question that echoes through the years. If TeeTee had not been a transgender woman of color, would her case have been solved sooner? Many activists say the delay and lack of progress in the investigation reflects systemic bias where victims from marginalized groups are often left behind. Today, when people talk about TeeTee Dangerfield, they are talking about more than just a murder. People talk about an icon, a testament to the injustices faced by so many. Her story has transcended Atlanta, becoming part of a national conversation about violence, justice, and LGBTQ+ safety. But for her family, no title or symbol is enough. To them, TeeTee is not a movement or a hashtag. She is a daughter, a sister, a friend, and all they want is justice, a truth revealed, a name punished. Until that happens, TeeTee Dangerfield's story will remain an unfinished song, a sad melody that resonates in the hearts of those who loved her. Over time, TeeTee Dangerfield's case has become a scar on the face of Atlanta, no longer bleeding, but never gone. Many outsiders may forget, but for those who loved her, the pain is still present every day. And for the LGBTQ+ community, TeeTee's death has become part of a long-term fight for recognition and protection. In the years since, journalists, documentary filmmakers, and social organizations have continued to refer to TeeTee. They see her death as a symbol of injustice and a wake-up call. Because when someone is murdered for being true to their true self, it is no longer a personal tragedy. It is a failure of society. Numerous memorial events are held each year. People lit candles, brought flowers, and read aloud the name of TeeTee Dangerfield, along with hundreds of other victims, on Day of Remembrance for Transgender Murders. Each candle lit up like a soul that has not found peace, and each name called out like an affirmation. You are not forgotten. Yet, the heartbreaking thing is that every year, the list of victims grows longer. TeeTee is just one of many. Cold statistics show that transgender women of color remain the group most at risk of violence. They are often attacked, discriminated against, and when they die, justice is often slow to come or never comes. TeeTee's case, to this day, remains unsolved. No one has been charged, no trial has been held. The killer remains silent in the dark, leaving behind unanswered questions. And it is that silence that makes TeeTee's death all the more haunting. There was a time when people hoped that new technology, DNA testing, surveillance footage, or chance witnesses would bring a breakthrough. But all that was hope. The police kept the case open, but the family and community waited like a door that would never open. But even in tragedy, TeeTee Dangerfield left a legacy. Her story has prompted important conversations about safety, about protection, and about the legal system's responsibility to the vulnerable. Many young people in the LGBTQ+ community say they feel compelled to be more assertive, more involved, because they don't want TeeTee's death to be in vain. Her family, exhausted by grief, persevered. They shared photos, stories, and memories of TeeTee with the media. They wanted the world to remember her not just as a victim, but as a real person, a radiant, loving woman who longed for happiness. A close friend once said at a memorial service, "If you ever met TeeTee, you will never forget her. She had a smile that lit up a room, and she believed that everyone deserved the chance to love and be loved. But society did not give her that chance. And those of us who are left behind have a responsibility to change that." Looking back, the TeeTee Dangerfield case is more than a crime story. It is a portrait of the injustices that exist in society. Sexism, racism, and the delay of justice. It reminds us that justice is not always fair, and sometimes it comes too late or never comes at all. But at the same time, that story is also a testament to the power of the community. Even though they could not bring the perpetrator to light, those who loved TeeTee still turned their pain into action. They continued to fight, continued to love, and continued to tell the story, so that the name TeeTee Dangerfield would never be erased. The last image that many people remember of her is not that tragic night, but the days when she smiled brightly with her friends, the days when she believed in the future. And perhaps that is also how she wants to be remembered. Not as a victim, but as a person full of dreams and light. The final question still echoes. Who killed TeeTee Dangerfield? Perhaps we will never know. But one thing is certain. Her story will not be silenced. It will continue to live on in memories, in conversations, and in every step of the transgender justice movement. Because, as one activist once said, we cannot let justice sleep. Because when justice is silent, violence speaks. And TeeTee Dangerfield deserves better.